Welcome, dear listener. Tonight, beneath the silver breath of Halloween, when the veil between worlds grows thin, we journey where moonlight stirs forgotten spirits, and the forest remembers every step ever taken beneath its branches. This is the Whispering Vale, a tale of courage, wonder, and the quiet magic that awakens when shadows and dreams entwine on All Hallows' Eve. If stories of mystery and starlight speak to your soul, let your lantern stay lit. Subscribe and wander with us through more stories beneath the haunted sky. Now close your eyes, breathe in the autumn night, and step with me into the story. The Whispering Vale. Part 1. The Night of the Unraveling Veil. When the last leaf falls and the veil grows thin, the forest remembers. There are nights in a Elara forest when the stars themselves seem to hold their breath, when the world turns quieter, waiting. On such nights, the boundary between what is and what was grows thin enough for dreams to slip through. This was one of those nights. The air trembled faintly with whispers, not wind but memory. The trees were watching. The moon hung low, veiled in gauze-like clouds that drifted through the dark like ghostly sails. And down the winding path that cut through the forest's heart, a single light flickered soft, golden, uncertain. Elara. She was small then, no more than 12, though her eyes carried a glimmer of something older, a quiet knowing, like starlight hidden behind clouds. The villagers called her the dreamer child, for she spoke to shadows and woke often from dreams that felt too real. But tonight she had not come to dream. She had come searching. The last thing she had heard before her brother vanished was his laughter near the old stone gate, the one that marked the border no one crossed after sundown. That was 3 nights ago. And on the third night the veil thinned. She could not sleep knowing he was still out there, not with the forest whispering her name through her window as if beckoning her closer. So she had followed. The lantern she carried was an old thing, its glass cracked, its flame stubborn, but it gave enough light to paint a narrow circle on the moss-covered ground before her. Each step she took sank slightly into the earth, the soil damp with evening dew. The forest smelled of pine and ancient rain, and sometimes faintly of something else. Something older. Aaron, she called softly. Only the wind answered, carrying her voice into the mist. The path twisted, then opened suddenly into a clearing ringed by silver-trunked trees. Their bark shimmered faintly, as if dusted with frost. The air felt thicker here, almost alive. That's when she saw it. A shadow, or perhaps a figure. It stood between the trees, tall and still. Moonlight barely touched it, and yet it glowed faintly, like mist lit from within. Her breath caught. "Who's there?" The figure turned, and for a heartbeat she thought she saw eyes pale as river stones watching her. Then the light shifted and it was gone. Elara swallowed. Her fingers trembled against the lantern's handle. "You shouldn't be here." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, soft, deep, and edged with the kind of calm that made her shiver. She turned, searching the shadows. "Who's talking?" A shape began to take form, not flesh, not smoke, but something between the two. It coalesced from the mist, tall and cloaked in gray, its face hidden beneath a hood that seemed woven from starlight. "I am called the Wanderer," it said, "guardian of this forest. You have crossed into a place where breath and memory meet." Elara blinked, clutching her lantern tighter. "I'm looking for my brother. Have you seen him?" The Wanderer tilted its head slightly, the movement smooth, ancient. "The forest does not forget the living, child, but those who enter during the thinning seldom remain so." "I'm not leaving without him," she said, her voice trembling but steady. A pause, long, measured, the kind of silence that feels like it's listening to your soul. "You carry courage," the Wanderer murmured, "and something else, the light that answers the dark." Elara frowned. "It's just a lantern." "Perhaps," the Wanderer said, "or perhaps it remembers a fire older than your world." The trees rustled then, a sound like sighing. Elara turned toward them. The shadows between their trunks seemed to shift, bending, moving like figures gathering to listen. "What's happening?" she whispered. "The forest stirs," the Wanderer said quietly. "It remembers what it buried." And then the mist rose. It rolled across the ground, cool and shimmering, wrapping around her ankles. The air grew heavy, thick enough that every breath felt like swallowing the night itself. Through it, faint shapes began to emerge, faces, translucent and sorrowful, gliding silently between the trees. They were neither human nor fully spirit, echoes, bound to the earth by unfinished memories. Elara stepped back. "Are those—" "The hallowed," the Wanderer said. "Spirits who lost their names when the veil first tore. They wander until someone remembers them." One of the figures drifted closer, its eyes hollow yet shimmering with faint light. It stopped before Elara, tilting its head. "Who are you?" she asked softly. The spirit's mouth opened, but no words came, only a sound like distant rain. Then faintly, a whisper. "Elara." She froze. It was her brother's voice. Her heart lurched. She stepped forward, but the Wanderer moved between them, its arm outstretched. "Do not follow," it said sharply. "That voice is not his." "But I heard him." "The forest remembers what you love most. It uses it to call you deeper. That is how the veil unravels." Elara's chest tightened. She wanted to scream at it, to demand that it help her, that it tell her where her brother truly was, but the words stuck in her throat. Instead, she whispered, "If the forest remembers, then it must remember me too." The Wanderer regarded her in silence. Then slowly it nodded. "Yes, and that may be why it fears you." The mist pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Around them, the spirits began to drift closer, circling the girl and the guardian. Their forms rippled like moonlight on water, whispering fragments of forgotten words. The Wanderer raised a hand, light glimmering faintly between its fingers. The spirits recoiled, their whispers fading into wind. "They are restless tonight," it murmured. "The veil grows thin. When the next moon rises, this place will no longer be bound." Elara looked up, her voice small. "What happens when it's unbound?" "Then the lost will walk again." The silence that followed felt endless. A low hum rippled through the ground, vibrating beneath her feet. Somewhere far off, a tree cracked, echoing like thunder. The forest exhaled a long, cold breath. Elara shivered. Why me? Why did it call me? The wanderer turned toward her. Because you are a bridge, it said softly, between what has been and what will come, between light and memory. I don't understand. You will in time. Its gaze lifted toward the stars, though no eyes could be seen beneath the hood, and for the briefest moment, Elara felt something like sorrow emanating from it. The first veil was torn by a girl much like you, the wanderer said quietly. Curious, brave, unafraid of the dark, she sought to save what could not be saved, and in doing so she gave the forest its hunger. Elara's breath caught. You mean she caused all this? In her way, the wanderer murmured, but she also gave it hope. A gust of wind swept through the clearing then, scattering leaves that glowed faintly in the lantern's light. For a heartbeat, they swirled in the shape of wings. Then a sound, a whisper again, this time clearer. Elara. Her brother's voice, closer now, behind her. She turned, heart hammering, and saw him. Aaron stood at the edge of the clearing, smiling faintly, eyes glinting silver. His clothes were torn, his skin pale as frost. Aaron, she cried, rushing toward him. But as she neared, his smile faltered, and his eyes went dark. The light from her lantern flickered violently, sputtering as if strangled by the air. The wanderer's voice thundered through the forest. Stay back. Too late. The shadow beneath Aaron's feet spread outward, swallowing the ground in a wave of smoke. His figure shimmered and then broke apart like ash in wind. Elara stumbled backward, eyes wide with horror. No, no. The darkness surged, reaching for her. The wanderer moved between them, raising its hand. A burst of silvery light flared outward, scattering the mist. When the light faded, silence returned. Only the trees remained, and the echo of her brother's voice, fading into nothing. Elara sank to her knees, trembling. He's gone. The wanderer's voice softened. Not gone, not yet. The forest keeps what it cannot release. She looked up at it, tears glistening. Then how do I bring him back? You cannot, it said gently, but you may learn why he was taken. Elara clutched the lantern tighter, its glow dim but stubborn. Then tell me how. The wanderer regarded her for a long, silent moment. Then it turned, the hem of its cloak brushing the earth like smoke. Follow me, it said. The veil unravels deeper within. If you wish to find your brother, you must first learn what the forest remembers. Elara hesitated only a moment, then rose to her feet, lantern trembling in her grasp. The forest exhaled again, and the mist parted just enough to reveal a narrow path winding into the dark. She followed, and the veil began to whisper her name. Part 2: The Girl Who Spoke to Shadows. The forest keeps what the heart cannot let go. The path wound deeper into the woods, narrowing until the trees nearly touched above them. The air shimmered faintly, not with warmth, but with the quiet hum of unseen energy. Each leaf glowed at its edge, as though painted with the memory of moonlight. Elara followed close behind the wanderer, the tip of her lantern casting a soft golden circle that swayed with her steps. The mist curled around her ankles like restless cats. "Does it always whisper like this?" she asked softly. The wanderer's voice was low, resonant, like an echo carried by stone. "Only when it remembers too much." She frowned. "What does that mean?" "The veil holds what once lived, voices, memories, regrets. Tonight it grows restless. It wants to be seen." Elara looked around. The forest seemed to pulse in slow rhythm with her heartbeat. Every now and then she thought she saw shapes between the trunks, faint outlines of faces half hidden by mist. She shivered and drew the lantern closer. If it wants to be seen, why does it hide? The wanderer paused mid-step. The sound of the forest hushed instantly, as though waiting for his answer. "Because some memories are dangerous when looked at too closely." A sudden gust of cold wind swept through the branches. Elara shielded her eyes. When she lowered her hand, the path ahead had changed. Where smooth ground had been moments ago now lay a set of stone steps, cracked and overgrown, leading down into shadow. The lantern's light didn't reach the bottom. She hesitated. Was this always here? "Everything here has always been," the wanderer said. "You simply hadn't remembered it yet." He descended first, his form gliding soundlessly, more shadow than man. Elara followed, each step sinking into damp moss. The deeper they went, the colder it became. The trees above gave way to arching roots that wove together like the ribs of some ancient creature. The air smelled of earth and time. Finally, they reached a hollow, a wide, sunken clearing where a single tree stood at its center. Its trunk was blackened, its branches skeletal, yet faint light seeped from cracks in the bark like molten silver. Elara stopped, transfixed. "It's alive." "Barely," murmured the wanderer. "This is the heartroot, the oldest memory of the forest. Every soul that has ever passed through Elaran leaves its echo here." The tree pulsed faintly, and as it did, the ground beneath them seemed to breathe. Wisps of light rose like fireflies, each one flickering with a sound, a whisper, a name, a forgotten song. Elara lifted her hand. One of the lights drifted toward her, circling her wrist like a curious bird before melting into her skin. She gasped, not from pain, but from the rush of sensation. In that instant she saw something, a vision not her own. A young woman standing by the river, holding a lantern that shone like a star. Her face was peaceful, her voice faint. "Do not let the light go out." Then it was gone. Elara stumbled back, breathing hard. "I saw someone." The wanderer turned toward her. His tone remained calm, but his hood tilted slightly, an ancient gesture of surprise. "Describe her." "She was older than me. Her hair looked like moonlight, and she carried a lantern. It looked alive." The wanderer said nothing for a long time. Finally, the forest remembers her still. Elara looked up. Who was she? "The one who tore the veil long ago," he said quietly. "The first dreamer, the one who tried to bring back what was lost." "Did she find them?" The wanderer's voice dropped to a whisper. No, but she found the light, and that is why the veil has never mended. Elara fell silent, her gaze lingering on the glowing cracks in the tree. For a moment, the forest's hum seemed to deepen, resonating softly with her heartbeat. She could feel it a pull, like a thread tugging at something within her. She didn't notice the shadows gathering at the edges of the clearing until it was too late. They moved quietly, thin, fluid shapes with hollow faces and eyes like smoke. The hollowed. The wanderer turned instantly. His hand rose, light blooming from his palm in a burst of pale fire. The spirits recoiled but did not retreat. "They're not stopping," Elara whispered. "Because they've seen you," the wanderer said. "They remember your name." The shadows circled them slowly, whispering in voices like cracked glass. One of them, taller, clearer, stepped forward. "Elara," it breathed, "come with us, he's waiting." Her heart lurched. The voice was familiar, her brother. She took an involuntary step forward. "Aaron." "No," the wanderer said sharply. "It's a reflection." But the hollowed shape smiled faintly, its eyes soft. "You promised you'd find me." Alara's throat tightened. That's what he said before he. The spirit reached for her. Its hand was translucent, trembling, yet achingly human. The wanderer stepped between them, his voice like thunder. "Enough." The hollowed hissed, its form breaking apart into mist. But others surged forward, dozens now, whispering her name, their voices echoing like waves crashing against glass. Elara stumbled back, shielding her face. "Make them stop." The wanderer moved his hand in a slow arc, drawing a sigil in the air. Lines of silver light burst from the ground, forming a barrier around them. The spirits shrieked, scattering like smoke in wind. When the light dimmed, silence returned. Only the faint rustle of leaves remained. Elara lowered her arms, trembling. What were they? "Fragments," said the wanderer. "The veil remembers the shapes of love, but not the souls. It rebuilds them from longing." "That's horrible." "It's the cost of remembrance. To exist forever between worlds is to never find peace." Elara sank to her knees, lantern flickering beside her. "If they're trapped, maybe I can help them. Maybe that's why I'm here." The wanderer looked down at her, the faintest trace of sorrow in the tilt of his hood. "Do you think the forest called you for their sake?" She blinked, startled. "Then why me?" "Because you are part of what it has forgotten." The words struck her like cold wind. "I don't understand." The wanderer moved closer, his form wavering slightly, as though the mist itself struggled to contain him. "The veil does not call strangers, Elara. It calls home what once belonged to it." Elara felt the ground pulse beneath her palms. The light from her lantern flickered again, not gold now, but silver blue, the same hue as the glow seeping from the heartroot's bark. The wanderer's voice dropped. "It recognizes you." Her breath quickened. "You mean the forest?" "No," he said softly, "the light." For a moment neither moved. The silence around them deepened until even the mist seemed to hold still. Then, faintly, the forest began to sing. It started as a low vibration, a hum like wind through hollow wood. Then came voices, hundreds of them. woven into a melody so hauntingly beautiful it made her chest ache. Elara stood slowly, drawn toward the sound. "What is that?" "The song beneath the roots," whispered the wanderer. "A hymn from the other side. When the veil weakens, the song returns." The melody grew stronger, surrounding them. She could hear words now, faint, ancient syllables she did not know yet somehow understood. It was her name. Elara. The trees began to glow faintly at their edges, light running through their veins like liquid starlight. The heartroot pulsed faster, the cracks widening, its light spilling outward in threads. The wanderer turned sharply. "No, it's too soon." "What's happening?" she cried. "The veil is answering you," he said, "and it shouldn't." The ground trembled. Roots split apart, revealing glimpses of something beneath, a swirling shimmer of mist and color, a mirror of the stars themselves. Elara's lantern flared in her hand, its light no longer hers to control. The glow wrapped around her like a living ribbon, circling her wrists and rising toward her face. "Elara," the voices whispered again, layered and echoing, "the one who remembers." The wanderer reached for her, his own light dimming under the force of the surge. "You must resist. The forest is not your ally." But she was transfixed. Through the widening fissure beneath the heartroot, she glimpsed something beyond, a place of calm, of silver rivers and drifting souls, a place that felt like home. She reached toward it. "No!" The wanderer lunged, but the moment his hand touched hers, a blinding burst of light tore through the hollow. The forest roared. The veil rippled outward like a living ocean, scattering echoes through every branch and leaf. Then silence. When the light faded, the clearing was still. The heartroot's glow had dimmed, and the song had vanished. Elara lay on the ground, eyes closed, her hand still clutching the lantern. The mark of frost on her wrist shimmered faintly in the moonlight. The wanderer knelt beside her, his voice a whisper. "It has begun again." Above them the forest sighed, not in warning but in recognition. The veil had spoken her name, and in doing so, it had remembered its light. Part 3: The Forest of Remembering Shadows. The forest does not forget, it only waits for you to remember. The deeper we walked, the more the air thickened, not just with mist but with memory. The trees grew denser, their trunks twisted into shapes that seemed almost human. Faces carved by centuries of wind and sorrow stared from the bark, mouths frozen mid-breath, eyes hollow and watching. Elara walked ahead of me now, her small figure haloed by the faint light of her still dormant lantern. She did not yet know what she carried, not a tool, but a promise waiting to awaken. The forest murmured her name. Elara. Sometimes it sounded like her brother, sometimes like the wind itself, and sometimes like me. The roots stretched across our path like veins. We stepped over them carefully, but the forest shifted beneath her every step, reshaping the way forward as if testing her resolve. The hollowed followed us, silent, drifting silhouettes with eyes like embers. They made no move to harm her. Not anymore. They seemed to be listening. "They're not chasing us," she whispered, glancing back. "Why?" Because they remember what you've forgotten, I said. She looked up at me, or rather, at the faint shimmer that was my form. In certain moments when the mist thinned, I could almost see her clearly. The child's trembling fingers, her eyes wide but unyielding, her jaw set with determination that did not belong to someone her age. "And what is that?" she asked softly. I hesitated. "That you belong to this place." She frowned, unsure if she'd heard me right. "I belong here, but I'm not one of them." "No," I said, "not yet." The words hung between us like a ghost's breath. We came upon a clearing then, a wide circle of silver light where the moon shone through a perfect break in the canopy. The ground shimmered faintly, dusted with white blossoms that glowed in the moonlight. In the center of the clearing stood a mirror pond, still and black as glass. "This is the heart of remembering," I murmured. "Every soul that passes through the forest must face it." Elara stepped closer, curiosity flickering through her fear. The surface of the water rippled as she approached, even though no wind touched it. "What does it show?" she asked. "What was lost," I said, "and what must be found." The moment her reflection came into focus, the pond began to shimmer with light. Her face blurred, replaced by another image. A boy, smiling in the sunlight, his hair tangled by sea breeze. Aaron, her brother. "Aaron," she gasped, dropping to her knees beside the water. The image shifted, Aaron walking into the forest, calling her name, then running, then darkness swallowing him whole. She reached into the water, desperate, but her hand passed through the image, rippling it into fragments. "He's alive," I said quietly, "but he is not the same. The forest holds him now." Tears gathered in her eyes, reflecting the moonlight. "Then I'll find him. I don't care what the forest wants." I felt the pulse of her words echo through the trees. The hollows stirred restlessly at the edges of the clearing, as if the declaration itself was a forbidden act. "Be careful," I warned. "Words carry weight here. The forest listens." "I wanted to listen," she said fiercely. "It took my brother, it can give him back." The pond shivered again. From its depths, shapes began to emerge, not reflections but memories. Shadowed forms of spirits once human, walking the border of light and mist. Their whispers filled the air. "The veil is thinning. The child awakens. The light returns." Elara rose slowly, her hand trembling but her gaze unbroken. "What are they saying?" she asked. "They speak of prophecy," I said. "Long before your time, the forest chose a guardian, one who could carry the light across the veil. But when the veil tore, that guardian vanished. The light was lost. The forest fell silent." She turned to me, the moonlight bright in her eyes. "And you think that's me?" "I don't think," I said. "I know." Her breath caught. "But I'm just a girl." "So was she," I whispered. "Once." A tremor ran through the clearing. The blossoms shivered. The pond's reflection flickered again, and now it showed her, Elara, standing in another time, older, holding a glowing lantern in her hands. Around her, spirits bowed their heads as light filled the forest. Elara stumbled back, clutching her chest. "What is that?" That's me." The vision faded. Only her reflection remained, wide-eyed, trembling. I could feel the veil beginning to pulse. The forest was shifting, responding to her awakening. The hollow drew closer, no longer whispering but humming in unison, a low, mournful tone that reverberated through the ground. "They're afraid," I said. "They remember the last time the veil opened. They remember what came through." "What did?" she asked. "The ones who do not belong," I said. "Spirits that do not dream, only consume. They feed on what you forget. They are the reason the veil must never fall." Elara's small hands clenched. "Then we have to stop them." She said it with such certainty that, for the first time in centuries, I felt something stir in the hollow of my chest, something dangerously close to hope. Before I could answer, the ground beneath us cracked like ice. A fissure tore through the clearing, splitting the pond. From the fracture spilled black mist, thick and alive, writhing like smoke with teeth. The hollowed screamed a sound like shattering glass and scattered into the trees. "Elara, step back," I commanded. The mist surged upward, forming vague, shifting shapes, long arms, hollow eyes, mouths without faces. The unbound had awakened. They smelled her before they saw her. Their heads turned in unison, the air trembling with a chorus of whispers. "The child of the light. The spark returns." One lunged forward, moving faster than sound. Elara screamed, but before the darkness could touch her, the lantern flared. For the first time, its light ignited. Not with flame, but with memory, soft gold bleeding into white, swirling with threads of blue like captured moonlight. The force rippled outward, striking the unbound with the sound of 1,000 chimes. They shrieked and dissolved, recoiling into the fissure, which sealed itself with a thunderous crack. Then silence. Elara fell to her knees, trembling, staring at the lantern glowing faintly in her hands. What happened?" "The forest heard you," I said softly, "and it remembered." She looked up at me, her cheeks streaked with tears and light. "That light, it came from me." "No," I said gently, kneeling beside her. "It came through you." The hollowed began to return, drifting in the distance, watching her with reverence instead of fear. She wiped her eyes, determination settling where the fear once was. "Then we can find him. If the forest remembers me, maybe it remembers him too." I nodded slowly. "Perhaps, but to reach him you must cross where few can go, beyond the whispering veil itself." She tightened her grip on the lantern. Its glow dimmed but did not die. "I'm ready," she whispered. And though the forest loomed darker than ever, the light she carried, fragile, trembling, was enough to make the shadows hesitate. I followed her into the deepening night, through the trees that bent to watch, past the roots that whispered her name. Behind us, the pond stilled once more, but in its reflection the fissure was not gone. It pulsed faintly, waiting. For the veil had begun to awaken. And the forest, for the first time in centuries, remembered hope. Part 4: The Bridge of Echoes. The path between worlds is not made of stone or soil. It is made of memory. We left the forest of remembering behind us, stepping into a silence so vast that even the wind dared not enter. The trees grew sparse, their leaves pale as bone. The air shimmered as though the world itself was holding its breath. Elara walked ahead, the faint light of her lantern painting halos on the mist. It pulsed like a living heart, slow, steady, echoing the rhythm of her own. I followed behind, no longer invisible but faint and translucent. The forest's energy had begun to thin the boundary between us. She could see me now, truly see me, a tall, spectral figure cloaked in moonlight and shadow, eyes like fragments of the sky. She did not flinch. "Is this where the veil begins?" she asked quietly. "Almost," I replied. "Beyond this place lies the realm of the half-remembered where the living may walk, but cannot remain." The lantern flickered in response, as if it, too, recognized the gravity of that truth. We walked until the ground gave way to water, a vast, black lake stretching endlessly beneath the pale moon. But this was no ordinary water. Its surface reflected nothing. Not the moon, not the trees, not us. At the lake's center stretched a bridge made entirely of light and shadow, translucent and wavering, like woven breath. "The Bridge of Echoes," I whispered. "It connects the world of the living to the realm beyond the veil. Every step taken here carries the weight of memory. If you falter, if your heart forgets who you are, the bridge will unmake itself." Elara gazed at the impossible span before us. It shimmered in silence, suspended over a void that seemed to hum faintly, as though whispering countless forgotten names. "And Aaron crossed this?" she asked. "He did," I said, "but not alone. Something called him, something that feeds on loss." She clutched the lantern tighter. "Then I'll call him back." Before I could stop her, she stepped onto the bridge. The moment her foot touched it, the air around us rippled a low sound, like the sigh of 1,000 wings. The bridge responded to her presence, forming beneath each step and fading behind her. I followed, though each movement sent tremors through my form. The closer we drew to the veil, the weaker my bond to the physical became. The bridge glowed faintly beneath us, its surface filled with faint reflections, not of the world above, but of memories. There was Elara as a child by the sea, laughing with Aaron as waves kissed their feet. There was her mother calling them home, the smell of driftwood fires and salt. Then the storm, the night her brother vanished into the woods. She paused, trembling as the reflection changed, Aaron running. His face twisted not in fear, but in fascination, chasing something in the dark. "He wasn't lost," she whispered. "He followed it." "Yes," I said quietly. "The veil calls to those who ache. It promises reunion, a glimpse of what was lost. Few can resist its voice." Tears welled in her eyes, glimmering in the lantern light. "Then I'll bring him back, even if it takes everything." The bridge trembled at her words. For a moment the mist cleared, revealing what lay beneath us. Countless shadows moved in the depths below, their forms human yet twisted, faces blurring between anguish and longing. These were echoes, the remnants of those who had crossed but could not return. They whispered as we passed, "Remember me. Don't let go. Stay." The sound pressed against us, thick and suffocating. "Elara," I warned, "don't answer them." But one voice rose above the rest, clear, familiar, and heartbreakingly real. "Elara." She froze, her eyes widened. Aaron. Before I could reach her, she turned toward the sound. A boy stood at the far end of the bridge, small, pale, eyes wide with both joy and sorrow. He looked exactly as he had in her memory, except his outline shimmered like smoke caught in the wind. "Aaron," she cried, breaking into a run. "Elara, wait," I called, but the bridge responded to her emotions, pulsing violently. Cracks of shadow splintered beneath her feet. She reached him, or almost did. The moment her fingers touched his form flickered, unraveling into strands of darkness. He looked at her, eyes full of pleading. "Help me, I can't find the way back." The lantern's glow faltered. The shadows below stirred eagerly, whispering louder. "Elara, listen to me," I said, my voice echoing through the trembling air. "That is not him, not yet. It is his echo, what the veil made from your memory." She shook her head, tears falling freely. "No, he's real, he remembers me." The echo reached toward her again, and this time its touch burned not with heat but with emptiness. The color drained from her skin. The unbound were near. "Elara," I shouted, "light the lantern now." She gasped, raising it instinctively. The moment her voice broke with a single word, "Aaron," the lantern exploded with radiance. Light cascaded across the bridge, tearing through the mist, flooding the lake with gold and blue fire. The echoes below screamed as the glow seared them into silence. The bridge stabilized just barely. When the brilliance faded, the boy was gone. Only a whisper remained. "Find me beyond the veil." Elara fell to her knees, sobbing, clutching the lantern to her chest. Its light dimmed again, pulsing weakly as if exhausted. I knelt beside her. My form flickered, the effort of maintaining it pulling at my essence. "You saw him," I said softly. "Not the memory, the truth beneath it. He's still there. But his soul lies beyond the veil now, and to reach him—" "I have to cross it," she finished, her voice trembling but sure. I looked into her eyes. In them burned the same light that once sealed the veil centuries ago, a light I thought the world had forgotten. "If you cross," I said, "you cannot come back unchanged. The living who walk there lose parts of themselves, names, faces, time, even memory." She rose slowly, lifting the lantern. "If I forget everything but him, it will still be enough." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The forest silence pressed against the edges of the bridge, listening. Finally I said, "Then I will walk with you for as long as I can." She looked up surprised. "But you said spirits can't cross." "I said they can't return," I answered, "but some promises outlive the boundary." We stepped forward together. The far end of the bridge shimmered now, no longer shadow, but a curtain of light rippling like water. Beyond it lay nothing and everything, stars swirling in slow motion, a sky turned inside out, whispers of forgotten dreams. Elara hesitated at the edge. "What will it feel like?" "Like remembering something you never knew you lost," I said. She took a deep breath and stepped through. For a heartbeat, the world went silent. The bridge dissolved behind us, leaving only ripples of light. And then color, sound, memory. We stood in a realm not made of matter but of thought, the veil itself. The air shimmered with fragments of voices, each a memory drifting through eternity. Mountains floated in the distance, upside down and luminous. Rivers of light wound through the sky. Elara clutched the lantern, its glow steady now, unafraid. "He's here," she whispered. "I can feel him." And though I could not sense what she did, I felt the veil stir in answer, like something vast had turned its attention toward her. A whisper, soft and ancient, rolled through the endless air. "Welcome home, keeper of the light." Elara's breath caught. Keeper. The veil shimmered, forming faint images of a girl centuries ago, holding a lantern that glowed with the same light. My own memory faltered as I saw her face. It was not Elara, and yet it was. Time folded around us like a living thing, and I realized the truth that had haunted me through every age. This was not her first journey through the forest. She had been here before. She was the one who sealed the veil. And now it was calling her to finish what she began. Part 5: The Return of the Light. Every light must one day fade, but some are born to return, not to burn but to guide. The world beyond the veil was neither dark nor bright. It was endless twilight, a realm woven from fragments of dreams, thoughts, and what mortals leave behind when they forget to remember. Elara stood at the threshold of that vastness, her small frame swallowed by radiance and shadow alike. Her lantern glowed gently in her hands, the only constant thing amid an ever-shifting landscape of memory. Around her, echoes of souls drifted, silver silhouettes murmuring half-words, fragments of laughter, tears that once belonged to the living. Some reached toward her, curious, others bowed their heads in reverence. And all the while the veil watched. I walked beside her, or floated perhaps, though I was less solid now. The closer we came to the heart of the realm, the weaker my form became. My presence rippled like reflection on water. "Are you fatting?" she asked quietly. "I am not meant to exist here," I said. "The veil was never built for watchers, only for those who dream." Her eyes softened. "Then dream with me," she whispered. And somehow, for a heartbeat, I did. We passed through fields of glass and rivers of starlight. The ground shimmered like frozen sky beneath our feet. Each step Elara took left a trail of golden footprints, the light of memory stitching itself into the world. Then ahead, the horizon began to pulse. A vast tree rose from the mist, its roots plunging into the unseen, its branches spanning stars. The trunk glowed faintly, covered in carvings that shifted like living words. The air hummed with power. "The heart of the veil," I said, "where all lost things are remembered and all forgotten things are born." At the base of the tree, kneeling, was Aaron. He looked older than when he vanished, not in body but in presence. His eyes glowed faintly, as though the veil itself had seeped into his soul. Around him circled strands of black mist, the remnants of the unbound. "Elara," his voice was soft, distant, and wrong. She ran forward, the lantern's light trembling with her heartbeat. "Aaron, I found you." But as she reached him, he didn't rise. He only watched her with sorrowful recognition. "You shouldn't have come," he whispered. "It wants you too." The air thickened. From behind the tree, the mist gathered a vast, coiling shadow that rose higher and higher until it swallowed the stars. Its voice was not one, but many, layered like 1,000 forgotten prayers spoken in reverse. Light returns, it hissed. We remember her, the one who sealed us away. The darkness turned toward Elara, and I felt the old memories surge back of another time, another girl, another sealing. Centuries ago, the veil tore open. Spirits poured into the mortal realm, consuming everything they touched. A girl, chosen by the forest, carried a lantern forged from the last dawn. She gave her soul to close the tear, and when she vanished, her light scattered, waiting to be born again. Elara, that same soul, stood before it now, unknowingly reborn to finish what she once began. "Who are you?" she demanded. "What do you want?" The shadow's voice rippled like the sea in storm. "We are memory unclaimed, hunger without shape. We want a return." The light of her lantern flickered. The unbound writhed at the edges of its glow. "You can't," she said. "The world isn't yours anymore." "Then we will take you," it whispered. The shadow surged forward. I stepped between them. The impact was thunder, a sound that cracked the sky. My form shattered into strands of light, scattering like ash. "Elara," I shouted, "the lantern, open it." She hesitated, "But it'll." "Do it." The darkness reached for her, tendrils coiling around her arms, pulling her down. She fell to her knees, choking, tears streaking her cheeks. The lantern pulsed wildly, its glow leaking through her fingers like molten gold. "Please," she whispered, voice trembling, "let him go." The shadow laughed, a sound that was more like weeping. "We are him, we are all who linger." And then Elara did something no mortal, no spirit had ever done. She spoke the veil's name. The air froze, the lantern burst open. From its core poured light unlike any seen since the dawn, not fire, not sun, but pure memory. The first breath, the first tear, the first song ever sung by the living. It poured from her, through her, flooding the entire realm. The unbound screamed as they dissolved, their forms unraveling into the same stars that birthed them. The tree of the veil trembled, its carvings flaring with gold. Elara rose slowly, her feet hovering above the ground, her hair lifted in a halo of white fire. "Return," she whispered. "All of you, remember who you were." One by one, the drifting souls of the forgotten turned toward her light and smiled. The veil shimmered like dawn, closing the tear that had bled through ages. The shadow's final voice echoed faintly as it disintegrated. "You will forget this, child of light, you will forget." The radiance consumed everything. When I opened my eyes, the forest had returned. The air smelled of rain and earth. The mist was gone. And she was there, lying at the edge of the pond from long ago, the dormant lantern beside her, faintly glowing like a heartbeat. I knelt beside her. She stirred, eyes fluttering open. "Elara," I whispered. She blinked at me, confusion softening her gaze. "Who are you?" I smiled sadly. "No one important, just a story the forest remembers." She sat up slowly, looking around. I had a dream. I think there was a boy, a forest, and light." There was, I said gently, and you found him. She frowned. Found who? But before I could answer, a voice called from the trees, faint, familiar, human. Elara, where are you? Her breath caught. Aaron. She turned, and there he was, whole and alive, standing among the trees, sunlight breaking through the canopy around him. She ran to him, laughing and crying all at once, throwing her arms around his neck. He looked confused, then smiled as though waking from a long sleep. Neither of them saw me fading, my form dissolving into mist. The forest had no further use for its old watcher. My duty, at last, was done. As I drifted into the wind, I felt the trees whisper one final time. The keeper has returned, the light endures. And far below, on the forest floor, the lantern pulsed once more, not with power but with peace. The veil slept again, sealed not by sacrifice but by remembrance. And somewhere beyond the reach of worlds, the voices of the forgotten sang softly, their hymn carried on the wind. In light we rest. In dreams we return. In Elara's heart we live again. And so, as the veil falls silent again, the whispers of Halloween night drift into memory. Elara's light lingers, a promise that even in the darkest forest, the heart can find its way home. If this tale kept your lantern glowing, remember to subscribe and stay close to the circle for more journeys through the realms of dream and shadow. Until we meet again beneath the whispering sky, sleep gently and let your dreams wander between worlds.